Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 88 of the cast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Mandalorian season 3, episode 4. We're going to be talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and any other nerdy news from the week. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zaberwolf. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit like on the video as well, and leave us a comment below if you're watching a replay. Anyway, without further ado, here we go. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, man?
How are you?
Pretty good. How you been?
I'm good, bro. I was making the thumbnail for today's episode, and I was like, episode 88. I was like, holy crap, we've done 88 of these. It's actually nuts.
I know it's actually pretty exciting.
I'm gonna have to try and plan something for episode 100. I think it'd be nice to maybe bring back some previous guests and do a kind of reunion like that, like they do on shows before. You know, when they hit those milestone episodes, do something cool. I think it'd be pretty sweet to do that. How was the week anyway? Sure. Did you? I know you were saying you were planning on watching the Shazam movies. Did you get a chance to?
No, I didn't. There was a lot of things that we had to plan for. We're actually going to get our couch in on Wednesday, so we've been kind of cleaning up the house.
Fuck yeah, dude! I only got a couch last Friday, or Friday just gone. Was it Friday just gone? Oh my god, man! I've lost track of time. I think it was Friday just gone. We got a new couch in, and it's like double recliner, and it's like an L shape. It's incredible. It's incredible, dude. I've got a Bose 5.1 surround sound coming in next week as well. Like, so my living room's going to be literally complete. Nice. Hopefully won't have to change anything for a few years now. Spent enough money.
Yeah, I don't know how much you spent on yours, but like ours was, we got two couches. We got one that's going to be a kind of like two-seater, like a love seat that's going to be in this computer room right now. It's going to sit behind me. It's also going to have a sleeper so that if people like come to visit, they can sleep in this room if need be. And we also got a sectional, so we got like a chase, a two-seater with the sleeper inside, and then a three-seater on the right side. So it's like almost like a J or a U shape.
Nice, yeah. So we got a like it's like a L shape, but you can change it around, so you can kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. You can aim the L either way, so you've got like a recliner kind of straight ahead, and then a recliner on the end of the L, if that makes sense. But we're thinking of moving it around a little bit just to kind of change the room, because the way it was set up when the guys moved it in, it kind of closes off our living room, whereas we want to kind of open it up, so we might just flip it. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's going to be good though when it's done. I can't wait to put up the Bose system. Like, it's going to be incredible. I got these like Bose like wall mounts for the rear speakers and everything. Like, I was like, I'm going all out. I'm doing it once, and hopefully not having to do it again. You know. And then there was one of the couches we gave away, and then one of the couches that was in the sitting room is coming into this room, and I'm just going to have it kind of in the back over there, just to kind of close off, because there's like on the other end of this room, because technically it's a storage room. There's like a bunch of stuff there that I don't really want visible. It's not in the view of the camera, but I'm going to have a couch blocking it off, and then I can just kind of chill on that couch.
Make it look nice and neat.
Play some guitar, something like that, like, you know.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. So, and hopefully next week I'll get around to finally doing some soundproofing in here as well. So, yeah, it's going to be sweet. It's going to be sweet. Anyway, on to the topics. First topic of the day, we got Mando episode 4. What did you think?
Honestly, man, like I like watching it and then trying to watch it again, and then coming back to this point. As soon as we start the podcast, I'm like, I don't remember anything about it now. I don't know what it is, but something about the show is starting to make it feel a little forgettable. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if maybe it's because what happened in season 2 didn't matter. Because, you know, we had Grogu leave for a time being, and now that anybody that hasn't seen Boba Fett are like, what? Why are they back?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a requirement to watch Boba Fett in order to watch season 3, which to me is like a kick in the nuts, because Boba Fett, you know, ended terribly.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't a good show at all.
No, not at all. And it kind of like it actually hurts Mandalorian, because, you know, you shouldn't be fitting anything Mandalorian like related to Boba Fett just so that like you make it slightly better so that the finale doesn't take a huge dump. Well, like it ruined it, because like at the very least, like, yeah, it was cool that we got to see Luke. We got to see a little bit of the training between him and Luke and Grogu. but all in all, it just kind of ended up being like a nonsensical thing. Like it was just like a quick, like, oh look, it's Luke. It's
Yeah,
cool, right? Nothing came out of it. Like it would have been great if it was that 2 year span that they were talking about, and maybe Grogu was like learning a bunch of stuff, and then then Din Djarin shows up and it's like, I want my kid back or something. I don't know. It just
yeah,
it just felt rushed.
yeah. We spoke about it on a previous cast, but it I know Dave and John said in an interview that 2 years had passed in the show, that like he'd been with Luke for 2 years, but like I'm like I don't feel like it was 2 years. It doesn't feel like it at all. I think Dean would have made more of a fuss to actually see Grogu if he had gone 2 years without seeing him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know. I hope they explain it, and I hope it wasn't just them kind of trying to, save themselves a little bit in the storytelling, because a lot of people are like, here, how is he back with Grogu so quick? Like maybe they should have done a season apart.
Yeah, without
Um,
him.
yeah, yeah. Like, and again, I know they can't because it's the Grogu show. Like, it's all about Grogu. Like, Star Wars is being held on those tiny little shoulders right now. Though this little guy behind me, like, it's all about him.
Mhm.
So it's tough. Like, I did like the episode. I loved again all the kind of further expansion on the Order 66 scenes, and then we finally find out who
Mhm.
saves Grogu. I was kind of like, it's cool that it was Ahmed Best, the guy who played like Jar Jar Binks. Like he was the actor who did all the mocap stuff for Jar Jar, and he was in a really bad place after the backlash that was the prequels. He went into a deep depression after that. So it's great to see him getting praised from the community. Like that's obviously fantastic. Me personally, when the door opened, I was just kind of like, oh, I thought it was going to be somebody cool that would come to get him, like Cal
But
Kestis or something, or
yeah, but like,
Quinlan
it,
Voss, or fucking
but it
Mace Windu with one arm or something. Like, imagine,
I
bro.
get that. Oh yeah, I totally get that. But like Ahmed, like it's fucking like it's the dude who played Jar Jar Binks that gets to play like a Jedi,
Yeah,
and they gave him good choreography. Like I liked the choreography in there. Like it was actually really interesting, and I was like,
yeah,
this guy is bad. And then at the end of that whole scene, in my brain, I was like, I want to know more about that guy. I want to know
yeah,
like how that guy came to be. Like how did he come around, and like what was he doing in the background?
yeah.
Like
So
it's moments like the
he arrives on a Naboo ship, right, or takes off in a
right.
Naboo ship. So like people are thinking like, oh, like they're trying to like theorize, is it like maybe Padme sent him or something like this? But it's like
Hmm.
Padme didn't know about Order 66, because you see even the next day after it when she meets up with Anakin, she doesn't know what's going on. So that doesn't really
Right.
hold up. But people were saying, and this is a really cool part, imagine it was Jar Jar that said to him. So the character
Yeah,
that he
like a
played in the
double.
prequels sent him, the real dude, to go save Grogu. I was like, that actually would be hilarious.
Well, I wasn't there a video or a short that I think I had watched that mentioned that the ship that he uses is Jar Jar's.
Yeah, so like it's like a Naboo like senator ship or something, and like really the only Naboo like senators that we know of in that time frame is Padme and Jar Jar. So
Yeah.
yeah, it could be Jar Jar's ship. Like imagine we saw Jar Jar next week, because the way at the very end he's like, I'm going to take you to some friends of mine. I'm kind of thinking, oh shit, is he going to take him to like Quinlan Voss and like Cal Kestis and all that sort of stuff? Like, or like,
Mm,
it's hard to know, but like, I wanted to connect somehow to Cal Kestis, and I think maybe the Ahsoka show might do it, but the sooner the better, because that game,
yeah.
I'm so hyped for that game. It's out in a couple of weeks, and I cannot wait. And I just really want him to get a shot in real life. Like I really
Mhm.
would, because I love that first game. I know I'm going to love the second game, and I just want that story to connect in, because I think the second game takes place at the exact same time as the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So it's prime time for a crossover. Prime
Right.
time.
For sure. Oh man. Well, okay. And one other thing about Grogu though, like I don't mind Grogu. I'm okay with him. I think that he should be. I don't know how long it takes for his type of species to grow up, but I think he
Yeah,
should at least get a little bit taller, a little bit like I'm kind of getting tired of the little guy. I just want
yeah.
it to kind of get you know
I think he's going to be a couple of 100 years before he's like an adult, like because like if you think
yeah
about it, how big Yoda was in the prequel trilogy, and he was like 900 years old then, or 870 years old, or
True.
something like that. So you know what I mean? Like he's probably going to be 500 before he starts like talking in riddles and all this shit like, like Yoda, you know. So
Right. Right.
it's a long time coming, bro. You know, and I think
Yeah.
it'd be clever for them to do a time jump and do a trilogy like way in the future and just forget all the Skywalker shit like we hope for.
Mhm.
And then you could still keep Grogu in it, and he's like the wise elder who knew the Skywalkers and all this sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Also, I want to say he's a fucking cheater during that duel. I could have sworn it was just one shot each per per round.
No, well, apparently you had 3 bullets, and your man said you could use them in whatever order you wanted. So I
Wow.
think the young kid, I think he was fucking with Grogu, and he was just like drawing it out and making him suffer.
Hmm.
And I would have done the exact same thing to Grogu did, just a quick 3 shot, like boom, game over, like, you know,
You're out.
fuck you, back in your seat, like, you know, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because I looked at him like motherfucking cheater. But if that's part of the rules, then I'm all for it.
Now, it did say you can fire your 3 bullets in any sequence you want, and I think the kid was just messing around with him, trying to draw out the win,
Gotcha.
and then Grogu comes in.
Yeah. So I mean, what did you think of the like the plate? You know, the armor seems to be telling Grogu that over time he's going to be earning his Beskar armor.
Yeah, that happens for all of them. Like, even you see in the first episode of Mandalorian, like Din Djarin doesn't have his full suit yet, and he's kind of earning bits as he goes along. Like, we kind of learned that with him at the start of the
Mhm.
show. But like Grogu already has his like chain link thing, so he's already started. So I kind of thought they made a bit of a hullabaloo over that kind of scene a bit, like where I kind of felt like, but he already has his chain link armor, so it's like, you know,
Yeah, maybe
it's
give him
already
a
begun.
helmet or you know.
Yeah, I think his helmet would be ridiculous. Like, but like I've seen people online like, oh, do we think he's gonna hold the dark saber and stuff? I'm like, he's about 200 years off being able to even grasp the thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I really don't think he's gonna get it, the dark saber, and I don't think even his hands are too small for like Yoda's lightsaber. You know the way Luke
Mhm.
has Yoda's lightsaber. So like, I don't even think
Oh,
he's gonna get that either. Like,
right. And I wasn't and I was like in my head I wasn't thinking like the helmet like the official helmet that they use for the Mandalorian. I was thinking maybe like maybe a little tiny like, you know, a dome helmet. Like he just gets
yeah,
something to kind of just protect the top of his head or maybe even just like shoulder pads or something. Like the tiniest little things. And I know that they can't really do visuals on that because it's so tiny for Grogu. But
yeah,
like, you know, I think this is why I'm kind of concerned about like how long it takes for this guy to kind of age. And you said it could be about 100 years before he even reaches adolescence. And
yeah.
so like, when is he going to be able to say the creed? Like,
That's the point, bro. Like, I don't think we'll ever see him say it because the timeline's not long enough. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
if he starts talking like now, I just think it's a bit ridiculous. Like, because you know, he, as Andre in the chat says, like Grogu's in his 50s. Like, I think they say he's around 55 or something,
Mhm.
where he is now in the show. But it's like, you know, he's still a baby. Like, he's making baby noises and stuff like that. So like, I would presume he's probably not going to talk until he's about 150 or something. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
And then like, you know, he's going to be a teenager when he's probably about 250 or 300 or something like that.
Mhm.
Like, you know, and there are like, that whole timeline's dead by then, you know, well dead. So I don't know.
Well,
Like,
it
I thought it would have made more sense if he stayed with Luke, but obviously
right. Well,
they need him back with Din. So I don't know how they're gonna do. I don't know how they're gonna make
it
it go or make it
it's
flow
very
better.
weird.
Mm.
Right. And I was thinking, how long is there like an official lore on how long humans stay alive in this world? Like, is there a set amount of time? I know Jedi's can last longer, but
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest. But it seems like it's kind of like closely tied to human life. I would guess.
mm,
Like, you don't really hear of any human-looking characters in Star Wars that have been alive for hundreds of years,
right.
except maybe the Emperor. The Emperor seems like he's been alive a long time, although he's kind of died and been regenerated by the end, and it's like a clone and all this sort of messy stuff. But um, yeah, I don't know. He seems quite old. Like, if you think about where he is in Episode 1 as opposed to where he is in Episode 6, like, you know, he's an old man by the time it comes around to Episode
Mhm.
6.
Well, even then too, like it was the idea behind the force lightning being redirected back at him, kind of showing off. Maybe that's his true form. Maybe that was a true form kind of situation, or it just aged him like exponentially just because of the amount of damage he was doing to himself.
How annoying was it that his own lightning killed him twice?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But
technically, if you think about it, a third time, really, because like he used his lightning to turn Anakin. Like in Episode 3, he uses his lightning to like disfigure himself. So like
Mhm.
his lightning fucked him up there. Then in Episode 6, he gets his killed. Like Vader throws him off the thing in the middle of his Force lightning, and then in Episode 9, he literally disintegrates himself with the Force. Like it's just so
Right.
stupid.
Well, like 6 is probably my favorite death because he's just holding it up. He's like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
continue doing this.
Yeah, he's so deep in it he can't stop. It's like, you know, when you're mid piss and it's a real heavy stream and you just
You
can't
can't
stop.
stop.
There's no stop. Like a meteor could be coming at you. You're not stopping. Like that's
It's gonna
how I
keep
feel.
going until it's over.
Yeah. uh, yeah, no, look, it was I enjoyed the episode. I think the series is moving at a weird pace, and it seems to be kind of heavily focused on Bo-Katan this season as well. You know, like I feel like we're getting more Bo-Katan than we're getting Din Djarin at the moment, and
Which
I don't.
it's
It's okay.
fine
It
because
is fine.
the show's called The Mandalorian, and I get it.
Yeah,
It should be mostly about Din Djarin, but I get that if you were to shift that focus and now it's about Bo-Katan, then you could kind of say that for the show right now, the Mandalorian that we're observing is Bo-Katan.
yeah,
You know, I don't know. It's just it always seems kind of weird when you kind of shift phases or bring light onto a new character. And to be honest, Bo-Katan is actually pretty cool to watch. Like she's been pretty interesting, and I really like the conversations that she has, especially when she had that small conversation with the armorer,
yeah,
which like that kind of blew my mind because the armor, I don't like. It's hard to tell. Like, is the armor just fucking with her, or is she just like, or she's just like, we just don't believe that the mythosaur exists, and that if you saw him, then you saw him. Whatever, dude. Like, we just follow that. you know?
yeah. Chilling in the basement.
Hello
What's up?
there.
Welcome to the stream. Hello there. Yeah, like look, it's. I kind of thought that the whole. I think the whole story there is going. I think there's like a history that maybe she killed one of the mythosaurs, or she killed the mythosaur, or something like that.
Hmm.
And Bo-Katan's like, you know, I've seen one now. You know, I thought she was going to hold on to that for a little longer. And I don't know. I don't really know where that story's going. I thought I had a feeling of where it's going, but
Hmm.
now I don't know. So it's a tough one. But like I like the Bo story, and I think it wouldn't feel like it was so stretched out at the moment if we hadn't been 2 years without an episode of The Mandalorian. You know,
Right.
if this was like a normal series where you know you're getting a new season every year, I think I wouldn't mind as much. But now it's like we've had such a long break from Mando that it's like I want to see more Mando.
Hmm.
You know, Rebels was
Yeah.
dope. So I
I,
talk about Rebels in the chat, and
well,
I haven't seen all of it. I'll put my hands up and say now. So if I'm missing some core info from Rebels, please let me know in the chat.
well,
But
that's the thing. I
yeah,
have
I
not
probably
seen it at all. Like, I have
okay.
not even started it yet, and I really need to start it.
Yeah,
I heard Rebels was really fun to watch, and the
yeah,
only
no,
thing I've done so far just to keep up with everyone is to just read the lore and
yeah.
to make sure that I understand what I'm talking about at the most. You know.
Yeah, like it's you know we get introduced to a lot of cool shit in that show, and you meet some characters who are going to be making appearances in live action for the first time soon. So it probably is quite worth watching. You know, Ahsoka returns in it. She has like a great fight with Vader in it.
Mhm.
Like you know, there's Darth Maul's in it. You see Darth Maul's death in it, against fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like it's crazy. There's a lot of really cool shit in it. Like, and there's a few characters like Sabine and Ezra who are rumored to be in the Ahsoka show in live action. So
Mhm.
they're going to become quite important characters. And I've even seen some people talking about how um the armor could be a character from Rebels that we already know, which I think would be kind of fucking cool. And even like during that scene that you're talking about, where Bo-Katan and the armor have their little moment, I kind of had in the back of my head, like if the Garmer is one of these characters that I'm thinking it is, like I was like, shit, that could be actually like it could make these scenes even cooler when they. I don't know if she's ever going to take the helmet off, but like you might hear of who she is or something like that, or maybe we'll
Well,
see a scene of her eating and by herself, and we'll see the face, and then we'll be like, oh shit, it is who we think it is.
Right, and that's one thing I wanted to address was the fact that we got a little bit more lore on like how Mandalorians eat
Hmm.
and what they do when they eat and what like how they're able to basically like do whatever it is that they need to do in order to make themselves like maintain their cleanliness. Because there's no way you go throughout your life without taking off that helmet and taking a shower. Because like if you're leaving that shit on all the time, you're gonna have like bad hair. It's gonna stink. You're gonna smell. So
Yeah.
like giving us that idea that like okay, so they basically split off. They go do what they need to do without their helmet or without their gear, and then they put it right back on and make sure like nobody has seen their face during the time that is all transpired. So I think that's a really cool ideal about it, and I really like how because Bo-Katan was the like the lead in that investigation, they're like you have the honor of sitting near the campfire.
Yeah. 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 Like it's kind of cool. Yeah, look, it's. I think we kind of got glimpses of that in the first season of the show, where you see him kind of like eating, kind of sneaking away and eating by himself, and you see him like lifting the
Hmm.
helmet up very slightly. But like, bro, like realistically, like, how could you like, um, you couldn't live like imagine like trying to have a shower like I would never feel clean, you know what I mean, like because like Pedro Pascal has really like long shaggy hair, and it's like I'm always thinking, like I always think in the real world I'm just like imagine how uncomfortable he is inside that helmet now,
Oh
like
yeah.
especially if he's like running around and fighting people and sweating and all this stuff, like it's like his big shaggy hair, you'd be dying to like take the helmet off and wash your hair and stuff, and
Well, I
just
mean,
like
and it's just like chilling in the basement, said like getting it on. Like
yes. So
what do you do?
I laughed so hard because I had that exact joke with my girlfriend when we were watching it. Like when John Favreau's character mentioned that the kid was his son, who, fun fact for you as well, is actually Jimmy Kimmel's nephew in real
Oh
life.
wow.
Yeah, so the little kid who plays that character is Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. Um, and he looks like the second I heard that, I looked at him and I was like, oh my god, he actually looks like Jimmy Kimmel. It's hilarious. But Paz Vizsla, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
like when I heard that, like that was his kid, I immediately pictured John Favreau with a Mandalorian helmet on, getting jiggy with it. Like I just thought that was hilarious.
This is the way. This is the way. This is the way.
Yeah, yeah, this is the way. Fuck's sake. Um, it's too late here for me to be screaming like that. My
Right?
girlfriend will be like, "What the hell is going on in that room?"
He's nerding out a little too hard out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so funny, dude. Um, yeah, I don't really know what's gonna happen next. I think they really like because I don't know where this story's going this season. Like, do we know how many episodes are in the season?
I honestly don't remember. I would assume at least like 10.
Yeah, because like I've like we're like halfway there, and I just like what's happening. Like, really, like what's the big story? Like, I know like Tron's coming into the show now, but I don't think that's gonna happen in this season.
Yeah, I don't see anything saying how many episodes are going to be total. I see about 8 at the moment.
The armor is a Mandalorian. That'd be cool. That would be cool. So in Rebels, Darth Maul has his own faction of he has his own faction of like Mandalorians because he gets the dark saber and becomes the ruler of Mandalore. And they're
Mhm.
like they have like the kind of Maul paint but on like Mando helmets and all. It looks fucking sick as shit. Like it's really cool. So yeah,
Um,
I don't know. We'll see.
I
We'll see what happens.
I think what I'm hoping for, and I know that right now they're just congregating in a different area of the system. I kind of want them to go back into Mandalore and be like, "Oh shit, everything is fine. We just have to repopulate or like restore what we can and kind of
Yeah.
bring everything back to normal." But I think that it's got to be through Bo-Katan because she's aware of what's there and she
Mhm.
knows like the terrain and
Yeah.
but like it just everyone is afraid to get sick from whatever fallout that they think is there. And Bo-Katan's like, no, it's not there. And even Din Djarin was like, no, I went through, I got the waters.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'd be really cool to see them go back through that area and try to like clear out some place just to make a new setup. But do you think
Fucking
it would take long though? Like, do you think if they were to try to do that, do you think that would have to be like an entirely new season, like put it season 4?
I don't know, bro. Like I'm not like if I'm being very honest, like I've found like some parts of this series interesting, but like I kind of feel like there's nothing really large happening right now. Like I know that they're
Right.
trying to like restore, like they're trying to, you know, they now know that the surface of Mandalore isn't like toxic. They can actually go back there. So I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, what's the rest of the season going to be? You know, is it going to be them
Right.
going back and trying to just restore the place? And you know, again, I don't like what's the end game here. You know,
It could have very well been similar to what we see in the cinematics of like episodes 1 through 6, where things are happening here. Also, things are happening over there. So instead of them like just destroying the idea that like there was this 2 year skip between season 2 and season 3, like they could have just baked that into season 3 and shown like Din Djarin by himself, dealing with the whole Mandalore situation. And while we're dealing with that, we have like a meanwhile with the Jedi temple that Luke is building and Grogu, and then show that kind of growth period in between, ultimately leading to Din being like, I miss my kid. And I would love to bring him back and bring him into the group that I have found.
yeah,
And I know that would kind of destroy certain parts of this season's episodes, because we've already got him, we've already got Grogu like kind of mingling with the rest of the group.
yeah,
Although I don't think they respect him right now. I think they just see him as some other character. But I think over time he will be respected. It's just going to take some time. It, it's it just I just feel like it's this gap that's really fucking it. Like it's
mm,
just that there's nothing kind of holding this together, giving us any reason to really care for Grogu, because
yeah,
all I want to do now is to kind of know more about the world, like the home world of Mandalore, and to know what Bo-Katan's up to, and to understand like who the armor is, and
yeah,
what's Paz Vizsla like going to attempt to do, because he's still aware that the dark saber is in possession of Din Djarin. And so like that could still be a means for Paz Vizsla to just be like, I still want the blade, I challenge you again, or some sort of like sabotage, because it sounds like he was a little like pissy about it.
as you would be. Like, you know, if my like great 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 grandfather was the one who invented the fucking blade, I would think I deserve the blade. It's
Mhm.
in my blood, literally. Like, you know, so that would piss me off. I'd be challenging him every week for the fucking thing. You know, I'd be like, until he kills me, I'm like, I'm gonna challenge you for this blade. Like, it's my birthright to have it. So yeah, like I think it's kind of funny that John Favreau is that character. It would be hilarious if it turned out that, like, you know, he made himself the king of Mandalore in his own show.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would that'd
It's
be so
badass,
ridiculous.
badass. Um, you need to watch Rebels. There's a lot of Mandalorian lore in there. Yeah, for sure.
For sure we
Um,
do.
yeah, I will get around to watching like all of it. Because I don't think there's that many. Is there like 3 seasons or 4 seasons? There's not that much of it. But look, I got to put my hands up and say, like, even I love a lot of the Clone Wars stuff, but there's a lot of boring Clone Wars out there. And like Bad Batch, I started Bad Batch, and I don't think I got past episode 10. I
Mhm.
literally just watch Star Wars Theory breaking down the episodes now. I don't even bother watching them. You know, it's just it's kind of, I find that the episodes are either like of Clone Wars, for example, the episodes are either absolute fucking fire or they're really bad.
Mm.
Like all the episodes that just focus around the clones, I always found really boring and I just skipped them straight away. But if anything was about like Obi-Wan or Anakin or any of this stuff or Ahsoka, I was like, I'm gonna watch that shit. You know, and like the last season of Clone Wars was magical. Like, but
Mhm.
at the same time, it was like the last 4 episodes were like some of the best fucking Star Wars ever. It was incredible. But then like there was like 2 or 3 episodes in the middle that were just awful. I was like, oh, what is this shit? Like, I can't watch this stuff. It's awful. So it's a real mixed bag for me with the Star Wars animated stuff. Um,
It's I would say it's difficult mainly because of the fact that we're so I think the writers and directors have shoehorned us so hard into like loving Jedi and Sith, that
yeah,
any other class, any other type of like race or anything else is kind of like nil. Like we just don't
yeah.
care.
And
And
that is a lot of the fan base, and it's very evident of how Andor was received by people. There's a lot of Star
Mhm.
Wars fans that were like, "This is bullshit. Like, it's so boring. It's real slow. There's nothing happening." And I was like
Mhm.
that. I every week I was just like, I think it wasn't until episode 4 that we saw a stormtrooper for the first time, and I was just like, "How the fuck are we 4 episodes into this show and we're only first seeing a stormtrooper now?"
Right.
It wasn't for me. Like, I didn't like it. There was a couple of good episodes in the show. A friend of mine was in the show, so it was nice to see him, and I was like really happy for him. But at the same time, I was just like, this is not good Star Wars. I'm sorry, and people are like, every time I post about it online, people are coming at me like, "Oh, so you're just a child who likes action only?" And I'm just like, well, no, I don't. But what I come to Star Wars for is fucking the Force, is like, lightsabers, Jedi, Sith. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? I'm not coming to Star Wars to see like story building and dialogue built storylines around characters that I don't give a shit about and nobody gives a shit about.
Mhm.
Fucking Z
And
list, Z list characters of like the old Republic. Like, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about any of this. Do you know what I mean?
right,
Like,
and
who cares?
right, and it's like I said, it's all because that they pushed it so hard into this idea that like everything in Star Wars is combat based.
Yeah,
If you need to settle things, you settle it in combat. And I think that's what we really liked about the Mandalorian season 1 and 2 is the fact that like a lot of things, a lot of journeys that he's gone through, whether it be against actual people, whether it be against other Mandalorians, whether it be like against Force users, it was fucking cool to see like an actual Mandalorian dealing with things in the outside world that make it known why there's such good bounty hunters, why there's such
yeah,
good like characters, and why it's so cool to just watch them and to know that they're so mysterious because they never take their helmets off. And you
yeah,
know I see that, like, Baseman was saying that, like, we should watch the show, like we should really check it out because it shows more of the Mandalorian lore, which I really want to know. Like
mhm,
that stuff is really interesting. So it's like it's kind of like reviving that feeling when I first saw the Jedi and the Sith, that like I want to learn more about the Sith because we have so much Jedi information. And
yeah,
like like I'm kind of not done with the Jedi, but I'm kind of like tired of them in the sense that I want to explore the Sith. I want to know about their artifacts. I want to know like what they learned, like what kind of like temples that they made, and what they would do on the outside before even getting into contact with other Jedi. Like I
yeah,
know that because I know for a fact that none of it, or not, I wouldn't say none of it, but I would say for the most part, both parties don't necessarily just straight up fight against each other. It's more so just learning in the ways of that side of the Force and then doing justice for that side. And I say justice because like even if you're on the dark side, there is justice. It's just, it's in terms of balance.
yeah,
And that's what really mattered most, especially when he had Anakin. Like the idea that the prophecy was that he was going to restore balance to the Force. He did. He
yeah,
he really did, because he turned into a Sith and destroyed the entire Jedi Council, which was massive compared to the rule of two for the Sith.
yeah.
And he
Well,
brought
look,
him down, and like,
at the end of episode 3, there's, as far as they know, and at the time when George wrote the movies, it really was just Obi-Wan and Yoda, two versus two. Like, it was like the Force was brought into balance, just not the way that the Jedi thought it would be. The
right,
Jedi thought it was going to be the Sith getting wiped out altogether, which isn't balance. That's the
no,
arrogance of the Jedi. It's like
exactly.
they thought that Anakin would wipe out the entire Sith, but it's like that's not balance. Whereas at the
Well,
end, it actually was Yoda and Obi Wan, as far as they knew, versus Anakin and Palpatine. So it was 2v2.
right, and you see how like they're so arrogant in their ways, in the fact that they're like Sith only believe in absolutes, and it's like, no, dude, the Jedi also believe in absolutes. You can't have emotion, because
Yeah,
emotions can lead to like fear, which leads to anger, which leads to the dark side. That's fine and all, but like as you've seen, like especially with what Luke has learned, is like it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be like to want to see your family. It's okay to have those feelings. It's just you have to nurture that. You have to kind of take care of that while also knowing that like you have to become a force for good,
yeah,
a force for the light. And so like it's just kind of like that's one thing that I really wanted to see when we saw Grogu and Luke training, because in terms of that, it felt like Luke was still kind of trying to go back to the old ways, which really destroyed the idea of like what was ultimately being taught in the show. Was
Mhm.
that like it's okay to care about the people that you love and to want to bring them back to the side, to the good, to the side of the light, to bring them back to good, because ultimately like that's still your family, that's still someone that you have to care for. And and so like you see that again like in episode 7 through 9, which like I know it sucks that they like redid that, but like that's kind of just the story between Jedi, is that they have this huge struggle between like wanting to, you know, be stoic without any sort of like sense of emotion whatsoever, but ultimately destroying themselves because of what they're doing.
Yeah, like I obviously way preferred like the stories of Luke from Legends, where you know he went on and had his own kids, had a wife, all that sort of stuff, and it's like it made sense because it was Luke kind of learning of the ways of how the Jedi were run and going. This obviously failed miserably,
It
so
sucked.
let's change it. Um, you know what I mean? Whereas now, like how Disney have kind of taken it, it's like it's as if Luke has just gone back to the old ways, and it just doesn't make any sense to Luke's character because he wouldn't have done that. Like he would have learned from the mistakes that his father made and the Jedi Council made, and he would have made a better his own temple and his own Jedi Order would have been way better.
Right. But this also reflects on the Mandalorian show itself, because this season, although like there's not really much going on, this season is kind of showing how some organizations are acting in the same way as the Jedi or the Sith, where they deal in absolutes. Like Din Djarin is so like trusting of his tribe, is so like he believes in the Kree, he believes in this idea that like you never take your helmet off, you never like do this, you never do that, you're a Mandalorian, you have to follow all these rules. And Bo-Katan is that other side that's like, no, that's like this is not like, it's literally this is not the way. Like it's the like you have to kind of expand everything, you know, because she was royalty, so she's like, oh, you guys believed in all that stuff, we don't give a shit about that because we're, you know, we were royalty at the time. I
Yeah,
knew what it was like being in Mandalore. I knew what it was like, you know, bathing in the waters. Like she literally every time we talked with her and Din Djarin, she would like, I swear she was putting up quotes. She's like, yeah, okay, you get in the waters. Yeah, you do that. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, like I care. And
yeah,
it's really interesting because that's someone who's kind of forsaken their religion.
yeah,
And and you see how even though she's kind of been in reinducted into like the tribe, I still think that she doesn't trust them.
yeah,
Like it's just this feeling of like I saw the mythosaur armor. The armor is like, no, you like she's kind of half saying, no, you didn't see the
yeah.
mythosaur, but that's okay. Like you can wear the armor.
Yeah, I think she's just using the Mandalorians at the moment because they're not her kind of clan. Like you know, she had her own clan and they live life very differently. Like you know, I think she's just using them as a means to an end. She'll keep the helmet on till she gets what she wants, and then she'll just whip it off when she gets her followers back, or if she gets the dark saber back. You know, she'll just whip the helmet off straight away, I presume.
Mm.
Um, like I was just looking on IMDb there while you were talking, like, and there's only from what IMDb is saying, it's only going to be 8 episodes in total. So we've
Yeah, I
actually
saw that too.
crossed the halfway point, which is kind of worrying if I'm being honest, because like while it's been entertaining and visually beautiful, and you know it's great to have the show back, I don't feel like a lot has actually happened in the first half of the season, and I'm kind of like, where's the show going? You know, if they just do a kind of like trip to Mandalore and you know set back up camp there and reclaim it, I'm just kind of like, that's kind of boring. If I'm being honest, like I would have thought getting to the halfway point of the show, we would have met the main kind of villain of the series and you know, seen where the show's actually going and like found out like, you know, there's always a villainous plot going on in the background, you know,
Right.
and usually around episode 2 or 3 or 4, like, you know, before you get to the halfway point anyway, you usually kind of know who the main villain's going to be, where the show's shaping up to go. And you know, like Din's gonna have to go against somebody in the end, and who that's gonna be. Like, and you know, I think a lot of people thought it was gonna be Moff Gideon, was gonna be escape or something like that, or get released, or you know, he be coming back into it. But I just kind of feel like we should know that by now, and we don't yet, and it's kind of worrying.
It's it's also weird that they're not following the formula that they've been following for the entirety of Star Wars, which is very first episode, just like you said, you know who you're up against.
Yeah.
In the like when Star Wars was first born in theaters, in the first few minutes that we
Vader.
have episode 4, yes, Vader.
Yeah.
You know the big bad. You know who you're dealing with, and you're like, that guy is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And then it shoots to where like we're going to meet the protagonist, and it's like, holy shit, while this is going on, what the fuck is Vader doing? Like you, it's just in the back of your mind, and that's how you write good story, because you care so much about the villain, even though you're watching the protagonist like work his way up, like, you know, becoming stronger, learning the ways of the Jedi, and you know, ultimately finding out who he is.
Yeah.
And it's
100%.
just like we're not getting anything.
Yeah.
We're not getting a single fucking thing, and it makes me wonder, like, do we have a hidden villain then? Like, is it that Bo-Katan is actually going to turn into a villain because she kind of just doesn't feel like she should be part of this, or like she just wants to, like, it's kind of like what you're telling me right now. She's trying to amass her people again, but like, what if it's for the wrong reasons?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
you know,
maybe the armor will be the villain or something. I don't know. Perhaps I think it. You know, in season 2, Ahsoka like mentions that she's looking for Thrawn, and I think that's
Mhm.
going to mostly be saved for her show. But I wonder, are we just going to get this kind of boring Mandalore story for the rest of the season, and then, you know, in the last like episode, Ahsoka pops her head back in, and then, you know, it's like, I found Thrawn, come with us, blah blah blah, and then it kind of just sets
Mhm.
up her show. So I don't know how I feel about that. If like this season of Mandalorian is just kind of like a stepping stone into Ahsoka's own her own series, like, you know, it's kind of, it's a bit of a weird situation to be in, because, you know, it's I think it's quite well known in the Star Wars community that like Mandalorian's kind of the best thing that we've had from Disney. You
Yeah.
know, you know, there have been a few other good bits, like, you know, Tales of the Jedi was good. The last season of Clone Wars was good now, but like I think like live action wise, I kind of feel it's a collective that, you know, everyone loves the Mandalorian, like, you know. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird that they're could potentially be using this show as a stepping stone into another project. It's kind of
Which
weird.
is dumb. It's
Mm,
dumb.
yeah.
Like, like when it came to like, let's check out Marvel. Like when it came to the MCU, phase 1 through 3 were pretty much like the golden age of Marvel,
Oh yeah.
because of the fact that they weren't stepping stones. They were doorways. They were things that you could just walk into and you could enjoy. It didn't have to be connected in any sort of way to be completely fair. Like it was very simple. You walk through a doorway, there's Iron Man. You walk through another doorway, there's Thor. You walk through another doorway, there's, you know, Black Widow and Hawkeye and the Avengers and whatnot. Like, I think that, you know, they're kind of like, if they're making this a stepping stone,
Yeah.
they're turning their doorway into a stepping stone is a fucking stupid idea. Like to basically cut down the doorway that's leading into something that's great for its own purpose,
Yeah.
and paving the way for a show that everybody is excited for because they love that character. That's horrible. Like when they did Boba Fett, and you know, like, I'm always going to say with Boba Fett was a stepping stone because they didn't give a shit about Boba Fett whatsoever. They just wanted to pave the way,
Yeah.
bring in Din Djarin, show Grogu, be like, oh my god, we're gonna see them again eventually, and that's it. Like, I don't even care that they won their fight in Tatooine,
No.
and that, you know, Boba Fett's like still hanging out. They mentioned Boba Fett in like one of the episodes of season 3 of Mandalorian, but like, who cares?
Yeah. And I think the whole Boba Fett thing was just I genuinely think that it was a power play to try and get Pedro Pascal in place. Like, I think they turned around and just said, like, you know, we could do this without you, bro. Like, you know, we have the original Mandalorian Boba Fett, like, and everyone loves him. We could just make a show about him. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of partly why they took such a long break with Mandalorian, because they were kind of under negotiations with Pedro, and Pedro wanted his own way and so on. And I think that like real world shit got in the way of that show. And I think that's kind of why it feels a bit weird now, because it just feels like to me like the pacing is just completely off. And the Boba Fett show came out and was a complete shit show. But like, could you imagine if the Boba Fett show came out and was actually great? Like
I mean, if it
that would have been a different vibe completely. Like,
right, but then even then, like, that's still like, I don't think that smudges anything on the Mandalorian. It just creates
yeah,
that sense of like revival to a character that people really loved. Like people fucking loved Boba Fett. People like would die for that dude. Like, and now they don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care
Just
whatsoever because he just took his helmet off.
Yeah, exactly. Andre in the chat bringing up Visions as well. Just there is a full breakdown of the Vision series on this channel. Myself and Hoffman went over it, but I really enjoyed that show as well. Again, it was like there was a couple of like top tier episodes. There was a couple of like bottom tier, and then there was a few mid in there as well. But all in all, I thought that show was great, and I would love to see them do more. Like it was really, really good. I think I watched the whole thing in like one day, and myself and Hoffman jumped on here and talked about it, and I edited the video. I tried to get it up as quick as possible, like because I wanted it to be obviously relevant. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Some of those, like the first episode, I think it was amazing, and there was like I think it was the fifth one and the ninth one, or I can't really remember the order of them, but there was some really really good shit in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, Book of Boba Fett was made. I'll agree with Andre there. Like it was just.
I agree with Andre. Like super kick ass, like assassin. Had nothing at like, didn't have to say anything because he was just cool.
Yeah.
Like people just liked him.
But like you remember back to like previous casts, like before Boba Fett even came out, we were doing this back then, like, and there was no way, like I didn't give a shit. I didn't really give a shit about Boba Fett when that was announced because I was just like, this dude is like a fucking D-list character in Star Wars. Like fucking there's interviews with George Lucas where he's openly saying like, it's like, oh, what are you gonna do with Boba Fett? He's like, who cares? Just kill him. Like, no one gives a shit about him, sort of thing. Like, so it's like,
right.
I've never really cared too much about Boba Fett. He is a cool character, but I've never thought of him as like a main character in Star Wars. So when I heard he was getting his own show, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'll watch it, but I don't care.
Right.
Yeah, just is what it is.
And that's what sucks, man, is like when writers and directors want to kill a character and then they realize like, holy shit, we just killed a character that people liked. Then they're like, well, why don't we revive him? People love him, and then they do this shit.
But like, if you imagine being a Star Wars fan at the very beginning, like I wasn't alive, obviously, when Star Wars first came out, but like, imagine going to the theaters, seeing Empire Strikes Back. You see this character Boba Fett, like he's in the movie for about 4 minutes altogether in that film, like probably less, 3 minutes of screen time, and then in Return of the Jedi, we see him for probably another 2 minutes, and then he dies. It's like, how are you meant to give a shit? Like I never gave a crap about Boba Fett when I was a kid because it was just like, this dude was on screen for 5 minutes. Who the fuck is he? Like, who cares?
I think
his armor looked cool. He had a jetpack, and he was, I hated him for taking Han Solo. When I was a kid, like I was like, I hated this guy because he froze fucking Han Solo. Like, but other than that, like I just never saw the appeal really to him. Like, and
I think it was just because he was mysterious and he was an assassin.
But that was the point. And then like when we saw him first appear in the Mandalorian and he was like slaying people and like blowing up ships and shit, I was like, okay, this guy's fucking cool. But then they went one step too far with him,
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, look, I really, to be honest, until we see more Mandalorian, I don't really have anything else to say about it. Is there anything you want to talk about? Because I know you haven't seen Shazam. I can talk about Shazam for a few minutes if you want, if you don't like mind hearing about it, but
no, not at all. But I do want to say I just finished watching the first movie of Shazam.
Oh yeah, what did you think of the first one?
I'm sorry, man, I hated it.
Did you hate it?
Yeah.
Why? What didn't you like about it?
I couldn't take it, man. I just couldn't. Like, I just don't understand the appeal of how, like, I don't understand why they picked Billy. It turned into a moment of like, I know that they picked Billy in the comics because he was, destined to become Shazam and that he was worthy of being Shazam. It's like a similar situation to Thor, but like Billy's an asshole at the beginning of the show. Like, and like he's a mischief maker and whatnot. And I get it. He's an orphan and he feels like he has no place. He has no home and whatnot. But like, if you're choosing someone based on their ability to be pure of heart, then that's not Billy. Because literally he's wanting to go get beer. He wants to go to like titty bars. He wants to like, it's things like that make me think like
he's a kid. Like, if you were a kid and you magically transformed into like this big jacked man,
right?
first thing you'd be doing is buying beer and going to a titty bar. Like, let's be
Right.
real.
You have, yes, you have curiosity, you
Yeah,
have wonder, you want to check out those things because those are things that adults can do.
yeah,
I get that. But don't make it a pure of heart situation then. Like, don't make
yeah,
it like, oh, I'm looking for the person that's pure of heart, because nobody that's pure of heart is going to be going to a strip club or get beer, because those are things that kind of can mess you up and change
yeah.
like your ideals or your mentality. And so like I did find the intro kind of interesting, how like there was this guy who was not worthy, which kind of felt okay, but the villain itself, like I felt flat.
Mhm.
um, I've never really watched or read too much on DC Comics, so I don't know if the Seven Deadly Sins is an actual, like, is that an actual villain group? If
Um, yeah, I don't really, I haven't read too much Shazam, so I don't really know, but I doubt it. I don't think so.
right, and it just paved the way, because it wanted to kind of like push in this idea that like, oh, let's just have a bunch of characters that can also become like people of Shazam.
Yeah,
Basically, give them all costumes, make the entire orphan group like, superheroes for the time being at the very end of the movie.
yeah,
And it's like, cool, like, cool, that was fun, but like, I don't care.
yeah,
I really wanted to enjoy it, but I would say that the worst part of the movie itself, for and this is talking about Shazam 1, because I haven't watched the second one yet. The worst part is having the villain show no sense of like pathing, other than just being like incredibly obsessed and losing his hair, and basically kind of reminding me of like Lex Luthor. I was going to say Mex, cuz
yeah,
um and it felt like it was trying to make a Lex Luthor for Shazam, which kind of felt flat for me. And to
yeah,
give him like just an eye that has all this power in it, that has the seven deadly sins like placed within it, and that he loses his power as the seven deadly sins come out. Like it starts to get gradually like weaker in like for his stature. That
mhm,
was kind of cool. I think that's a good kind of weakness, is that like he can't. It's kind of like Thanos with the rings, or not the rings. Oh my god, the gemstones.
mhm,
If Thanos were only to use one gemstone at a time against the Avengers, he would suck. um for him having multiple, it's like he's damn near unstoppable. And
yeah,
so like that kind of worked. But honestly, the whole like, I'm a superhero now, I'm gonna just start dicking around, like
yeah.
that that that
It's
kind of
very,
ruined it.
it's very heavy on the comedy, and I think if you're not really into that sort of thing, you're not going to really like it. So I can
Well,
kind of understand.
but I like Zachary Levi. Like I
Yeah,
like it. Like he's a good comedian. I think he's funny at times, but like it was just a little played on. Like it was played on
yeah,
a little too. Like it kind of irked me. Like I wanted to see him fight thugs. I wanted to do the Spider-Man thing. I'm a kid. I just got powers. Let me go fight crime and be cool and like
yeah,
take pictures and whatnot. Like it's just that's the fucking Spider-Man way, and that's the template. You just
mm,
go by the template, you're gonna get gold.
yeah, 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 for sure. It's funny because, like, again, I won't go into spoilers on the second one if you haven't seen it, because you might want to see it, but basically they do kind of touch on that in the second one. Like the second one, the way we have the first one ends, he kind of shares the power with his family, and they kind of all
Yeah.
become like a family of Shazams. Basically, in the second film, they're kind of branching out on their own. Some of them are going to fight crime, and Shazam's trying to keep the whole team together. And um, I can't think of his name. Freddy, the guy with the kid with the crutch and all, like he's wants to be a super. He's going down the kind of Spider-Man path. Like he's trying to like, he's got his cop radio on, and he's looking for crimes, and he's like going and like saving the little guys and stuff. Like, so he's kind of like the Peter Parker of the group nearly.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I think the second one is probably better than the first one. Um, I just like, I feel very bad for everyone involved in that film, because I think the film was good, and it definitely deserved more than it got. I just think the fact that James Gunn announced what he announced, it kind of just ruined that movie, because people are just like, what's the fucking point of even going to see this film now? Like it means nothing. It connects to nothing going forward. And after they got burned with like Henry Cavill and the Black Adam post credit scene, it's kind of just like, oh, fuck this. Like, I think that's how a lot of people are feeling about this film, and I think that's why it's doing really bad. But like the film, like from an acting point of view, I thought like it had me laughing out loud at moments. It was heartfelt at moments. The whole cast like played off each other really well. I really liked the villains, like Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren were brilliant in their
Mhm.
roles, like, and I thought they were going to be cheesy and terrible, but they were actually really good. So I was like really shocked to see it. Like, it was very impressed by how good the film was. CGI in the film was fucking great, you know.
Well,
Um,
that's good.
like
That's good.
really, really good, like scary good. And there's a scene at the end. I don't know if I want to tell you this or not, but do you want to know this? It is a spoiler.
I don't mind, dude. I'll watch it. Like I'm going to watch the
Okay.
movie regardless. So like by all
Spoiler
means.
spoiler alert to anybody who's listening to us who wants to watch this film. Maybe mute me for a minute, but basically at the end of the film, Wonder Woman shows up and it's Gal Gadot, right? And she basically he had like Shazam throughout the movie has an obsession with Wonder Woman, understandable. But basically, he's like kind of like saying that, like, he thinks they could get together and all this stuff, and he wants to be part of the Justice League and so on. And she basically comes to save the day at the end. But it's actually not her in the film. They brought in a body double and they CGI'd Gal's face onto this body double, right? But honestly, I swear to God, if I didn't tell you this, you would watch the film and it's so realistic that it looks like Gal, but it's actually not her. It's fucking mental, dude. It's
Dude,
insane. Like the technology is incredible, like, and she's got speaking lines and stuff. So I don't know if they did something where they just like deep faked her face onto another girl's body or something, but like it was I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. And if I didn't know, like if I hadn't seen the behind the scenes photos and stuff like that of the girl that stepped in to play her, I would have thought it was Gal. It was
nice.
insane. And like I gotta say, like, tip of the hat to fucking Warner Brothers and stuff, because like they're this was so impressive to me that it was a better job than what they've done with like Luke Skywalker and stuff like that, and all the
Mhm.
deep fake stuff that they're trying to do in Star Wars. This blew it out of the water, bro. It was actually insane. It was
Now,
insane.
okay. So now one thing I would have to say about that is I don't know if you've ever watched Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, 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 I did.
Okay. So as much as we praise it now, to be completely honest, like I think that Terminator Salvation did a very good job for the time that it did, CGI, because they used the body double again
Yeah,
in that situation, because they had a bodybuilder standing up and taking the face of Arnold Schwarzenegger for
yeah,
like the T-800,
yeah,
which did a really good job. I think it was a bit shiny, but it damn near looked pretty good. So like to hear you say that like it was damn near flawless, it shows that they're really trying to improve this technology and they're not trying to let this go, and that they want to make this a thing
yeah,
for future movies, not just, I wouldn't say just for DC, but like even for Marvel, because it's going to be important,
yeah,
especially for things where you need that character's face for just a bit longer before you move on to a new character or to a new face. Um,
yeah.
so
True.
like it's great to hear that. It really is great to hear that.
I gotta show you this, right? So this is actually the girl that stepped in to play her in the movie, and like she looks like her. To be fair, like she does look
Yeah,
like her.
very similar.
But like that's like, and again, this picture again does it no justice, because the
Right,
quality of
it's
this
not
picture
like
is not
full
great.
quality.
But like watching the movie, I couldn't tell the difference. I couldn't tell that it wasn't Gal. It was
That's great.
fucking crazy, dude. And this girl did such a great job. Like she's got the body, she had it down. Like, and like
Right.
my girlfriend even said she's more Wonder Woman. Like she's in a better Wonder Woman shape than Gal is. Gal's a little too skinny, like, you know.
Right. Like, which kind of makes me think, like, why didn't you just give her the role? Like, why don't you just give her the role and give her the lines?
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
get it. You have such a big name, and you probably paid for it, quite a bit of it,
Mhm.
and you have the rights to her face for the time
Yeah,
being. You might as well use it,
yeah. Because like I think I didn't look this up, but I'm pretty sure like Gal is credited in the movie and everything.
which is fine,
Um,
and
that is fine.
that's
Like, and
completely
that's
fine.
that's that's how it should be. Like, because I presume she actually did do voice acting for it. Um, I just want to check while I'm here. Sorry, I just want to see what the
Yeah.
box office is
Well,
sitting at. So it's at 102 million worldwide. And again, as I gotta say, I feel so sorry for everybody involved because the film does not deserve the hate that it's getting. I just think the reason why it's getting this hate is just due to the fact that um the DCU is in such shit right now, and people are just like, "What's the fucking point?" You know?
Well, well, but I could say the same thing about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Like I like that movie. Like I thought it was a really good movie, and I think that no matter what I say, everyone is going to say, "Yeah, no, that movie sucked." Like, but it's just how much of it, like what sucked about it. Like that's always on my head. Like what really sucked about it? Like was it conversations? Was it the CGI? Was it just Modoc where people were just turned off by Modoc, and then that was like the last straw? Because
Yeah.
ultimately I think that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that's a good movie. That's a Marvel movie. It's a
It,
Marvel
it
movie
was
set.
it was pretty good, and I actually saw somebody give a hot take on Twitter that they said Shazam 2 was better than Ant Man, and I actually agree with them. I actually agree with them, bro. I think Shazam 2
I'll
was
have to
better.
watch.
Shazam 2 was a better film. It was a better comic book movie than Ant Man. I swear to God, and that's hard for me to say because I am a
I
fucking I'm a Marvel simp, but I love DC too, so I'm right in the middle. But honestly, the MCU obviously shits all over anything DC put in the cinema, but honestly,
But DC
this
is
this
so
movie
good, like
this movie
for
was good.
animations,
Oh, of course, of
and
course. That's not
and
the
that's
conversation we're having right now, but you know
right.
what I mean?
Yes,
That's a different story altogether, and, like, honestly, I think DC make better comic books than Marvel as well, but that's a different story again. But, look, yeah, like, I just think
I'll fight you on that one.
the movie was fucking great. Um, it really was. I really enjoyed it, and my girlfriend, like, who isn't really like, she likes comic book movies, but she's not into it in any way like us, like, she doesn't follow any of the fucking like spoilers or rumors or anything like that. Like,
Right.
but she just watches it kind of as a normal fan, or I'd call her kind of like an intermediate. Like, she's not, I wouldn't call her like a normie, like, but at the same time, like, she's not like deep nerd like we are, like, but
Mhm.
she was like, that movie was fucking great. She really enjoyed it. Like, and she went on to IMDb and gave it a 9 out of 10. And I was like, okay, calm down a little bit. And she goes, her reason for that was she's like, fuck all these people that are giving it a low score because it's like, it's actually not fair. It's genuinely not fair that like people are lowballing this movie just because of James Gunn, like, canceling the universe and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with the film itself. Watch what's put in front of you and rate that. Don't rate
Right.
anything else. Don't let the real world come into it. Just rate what you're watching. And she's like, I sat down and watched this movie, and she's like, I loved it. It was brilliant, and I'd watch it again. So
Right. And that's exactly what I felt about Quantumania. Like
yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not saying that Modoc was perfect. It was just
yeah,
like that was what they could do at the time. I think that they could have maybe done a little bit more, maybe add a little CGI, gave him a bit of hair or something. I don't
yeah.
know. Like they could have touched it up a bit because I think the bald, like, to not to sound mean to the bald community, but like the baldness for Modoc does not sit well. I don't think it I don't think it really worked for them. It
um,
just
yeah,
made things a little silly looking, because
true.
it's like you just took someone who basically looks like a naked baby with a big head and
Yeah,
just like
tiny little ass.
yeah.
I'm actually curious to watch Quantumania again because I actually think what'll happen is by the time it comes to a digital release, they'll actually have fixed up the CGI a little more. Like, they'll continue to work on the movie now, I'd say, and then when they give it the Blu-ray or like the UHD fucking physical copy and then the digital release, it'll actually be better. Because even when they released No Way Home, the theatrical release had some pretty sloppy CGI in it, and then when they came around to releasing the steelbooks were a lot better.
Right.
So I definitely will watch Ant Man again, and it's a movie. So how I kind of grade my Marvel movies is like, obviously there's the god tier stuff that I can just jump in and watch at any time, like Infinity War. I don't care what day of the week it is. I don't care what I've watched before or what I plan to watch after. I can throw that movie on whenever. Like,
Right.
but then there's movies that, like, I don't know, like, say Civil War, for example. I wouldn't mind watching something beforehand, like, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and like kind of go into it and do a bit of a marathon or whatever. I wouldn't just
Mhm.
throw like some of the movies on randomly, but then I'd watch them in a marathon or a replay. Whereas Ant Man, I think it's not as bad. Like, there's some movies in the MCU that are so bad that I just skip them. I don't watch them again. Like, I think Ant Man 2 is a movie
Mhm.
I've only seen once, you know?
Right. And
And like, I think this movie, like, I will watch it again. I need to see it maybe twice or three times before I like put it into a category, or is it worth the rewatch or not? You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um.
Now, I
Go on.
just want to show you really quick, if I can. God, is that it? Is this it? Yeah. Okay. So you see Modoc here. I just want to show you. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, he still looks fucking goofy, but
He's got the
like
hair.
he's got the hair. It covers up like the bald section. It had kind of a similar like ideal with like leaving the arms and legs out and whatnot. You still had like the health meter. I think this fits better. Like they could have whited out his eyes. They could have like, gave more dastardly like eyebrows and whatnot. They could have made him look mean, but
Yeah.
also still be like the secondary villain. And I think that's what kind of missed is that like they could have made him menacing,
Hmm.
but who cares? Because you for some reason gave him like super battle armor faceplate that you only saw like maybe two or three times.
I think his
And it
role
didn't,
in that film was purely comedy, though. You know.
which that's fine, but like even though you have Jonathan Majors as like, Kang, Kang still had those moments where it was like it was serious, but there were also moments that were kind of silly
Hmm.
just because of like the way he did it.
Yeah.
But he did a great job. So I think that like I think that for Modoc, like it's kind of like pushed a little to the side and been like he's just way too goofy. When you could have made him look goofy but also crazy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, but I would say like it's just it's like you said, they made him silly,
Yeah.
and it's hard to pull away from that. It's like what I don't like with Shazam. They made Shazam too silly for my taste.
Hmm.
And but like he gets very serious near the end, which is great. But like, you know, be a kid, but at the same time, like know that you're a superhero.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
just yeah. I'm just kind of starting to ramble now because it's like I don't know what else to say other than the fact that like I think that both movies had their faults, and I think that when I watch Shazam 2, I'm either gonna love it or I'm gonna hate it, and there's gonna be no in between. I don't think I'm just gonna like it.
Yeah.
Um,
So Andre in the chat was talking about the deep fake stuff in Mando and how impressive it was the second time around with the deep fake. Andre, I gotta tell you, bro, you have to watch Shazam 2 and just watch that deep fake at the end of that movie and tell me what you think, because I'm guaranteed if you didn't know that that wasn't Gal at the end of that film, you wouldn't know any different. Honestly,
mhm,
like I can tell when I'm watching Luke in Mando, his voice sounds terrible. Like I can tell that it's generated by software. Like it sounds robotic. It doesn't sound like Mark Hamill. And I understand Mark is like in his 70s now or whatever. Like he's an old man, so it's much harder to do. You know, they can just get in touch with Gal and be like, here, record a few lines on your fucking iPhone and we'll throw them in the movie. Like, it's fine. It's a different story for Luke, but in the first time we saw Luke, you could see his mouth wasn't moving properly and stuff like that. Like it didn't look good. But I was just so happy to see Luke that I didn't care. He could have been
mhm.
he could have come in as an 8-bit character, like, and I would have still been freaking out, like, because it's Luke, But in the second time we saw him, it was a massive leap in technology. It was a lot better, but genuinely, Warner Brothers are shitting all over them right now because this is just so much better than the two of them combined. It's crazy.
Mhm.
It's actually wild. Like again, like I told my girlfriend, I was like, that's not Gal. She wasn't in the movie. That was fake. That was CGI. And she's like, I can't believe you told me that. That just ruined it for me. I was like, I know. And it's like, she's like, I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. Crazy. Chillin's asking as well about the Majors incident. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, and sadly, it sounds like it was true, according to arrest, because it was an arrest was made,
Yeah.
and apparently the arrest was confirmed to be based on domestic violence.
Yeah. Again, I don't really know too much about it, but I heard his like legal team came out and said that it wasn't true. Then I read something about that it happened in the back of a taxi or something, or a cab in New York
Mhm.
City, and it's like, like you've got witnesses
It
there. So I
right.
don't really know the full ins and outs, and I don't really like commenting. We were talking about this in my Discord earlier.
Mhm.
I don't really like throwing shade on people without the truth, the fact, like the facts being out there and somebody being, get like the saying, you're, innocent till proven otherwise. And I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to not share something in my Discord. The conversation got a little heated in there earlier. People were like, I'll give the guy a chance. You don't know what's going on. And I'm like, I'm not throwing judgment at anybody. I'm just giving the information to you to read. Like, I'm not, I don't, it's not my business. Like, I know that's not really the right thing to say, but I don't know John. I don't know Jonathan Majors. I don't know who his girlfriend or wife is or whatever. Like, I don't know what their story is. Like, everybody's got their own fucking story. So I don't know why whatever happened or whatever didn't happen. But I gotta say, like, we saw how quickly the internet turned on Justin from Rick and Morty. The whole world turned on him straight away, and basically. It turned out to be fucking bullshit.
It was fake. Yeah.
The girl was lying, like, and I think she should go to prison for that because she's destroyed his life now. He's lost his job. He's lost his credibility. He's going to go down as like a fucking woman beater for the rest of his life now, even though he didn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that this woman who's made these claims against Jonathan Majors didn't do anything or is like, doing something wrong. Like it's a case by case basis, but there are women out there that lie. And, that's just the world we live in. Like, there's plenty of women that are victims of domestic violence cases. Right. I'm not saying there isn't, but there's people out there that lie as well. So you got to just wait for all the facts to come out and let the professionals handle it. Like, but obviously it's terrible. Right. And I can only imagine what Kevin Feige and the rest of Marvel and Disney as well are thinking about this now. Like, Disney kind of have an open holds barred policy about this shit. Like, they tried to fire James Gunn over like tweets that he sent 10 years ago or something. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm sure with all these articles coming out, I'm sure they're probably talking recast already. They're probably talking about getting rid of him because, the next 5 years of the MCU are on this man's shoulders. Like, so I'd say they are scared right now.
It's pretty sad to think about that. But I agree with you, man. Like, in terms of, it's really none of our business. But it is out there. So like we're able to see the information.
Of course.
And you're right. We don't know what the full like truth is yet. We don't know what the verdict will be. And once we reach that point, or before we reach that point, we should still hold high hopes for both parties, and that hopefully whoever is right gets their justice. But at the same time, I am still hopeful that like it's not true. I know that you said before that like some women lie, so, like, but some men lie as well. But the idea, in my opinion, is also miscommunication or like misunderstanding what the real situation was. It could ultimately be that nothing really happened because it looked like it did. So therefore, like, we just kind of have to label it as such and then investigate.
Yeah.
Well, like, but I would never, ever turn away someone who is calling for help, especially in terms of domestic abuse, because like, that's horrible. Like, you still have to investigate it. Like, take both sides of the story and hopefully it's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of blowing up, but hopefully it really is just a misunderstanding. Maybe something happened. He put his hands up or something, or she put her hands up and it looked as if something like that occurred, because it's like you said, things like that can be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
again, like if you're in the back of a taxi and the woman's screaming or something, like, and he's got his hands on her, that's, pretty obvious. But again, it's, we don't know what happened inside that taxi. So, it's hard to say. But like, I've read like cases of like women who have gone into court and lied on multiple occasions that they've been raped by people. And, there was a woman in the UK, I think, who she had done it to 15 different men. She got 15 different men put in fucking prison, like, and then they found out that she was lying about the whole thing, and then she got put in prison. Like, I'm like, that's justice. Like, that's what should happen. Obviously, like, there needs to be a channel for women who are victims to be able to speak out, but at the same time, you have to know as well that there are vindictive women out there as well that are just out there to try and ruin people's lives for whatever reason. Like, this woman could be like, again, I don't know what like it actually went on, but you never know. Like, he could have tried to break up with her, and then she kind of just was like, fuck you, I'll ruin your life or whatever. Like, you never know. Like, I suppose
you never know.
you never know. So again, I don't know the ins and outs. I don't think anybody except for Jonathan Majors and that woman and maybe the taxi driver will ever know really what happened. But
Right. And to kind of call back on a similar kind of situation between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, that
exactly,
whole trial situation, like that was hard for everyone. And I know
yes,
that the majority of the population wanted Johnny to win, but we still needed to hear Amber's side just to make sure that we absolutely believe that Johnny couldn't do this. Because like,
yeah,
the majority of people that have stood up for like, Johnny, they ultimately said like none of this ever happened to them. Like they've
yeah,
never had an issue, and I know that like defense attorneys need to try to pull as much information as they can and make sure that they absolutely understand or get the right information that says like he did actually do such and such.
mhm,
um it's tough because like ultimately if he had lost, it would have been sad and people would have seen him in a different light.
yeah,
But because he won and because everything kind of like turned into kind of like a shill, like it was so bad. Like it was just one of those moments of like I don't know. Like there were times where I was like I don't know what to believe, and then other times I'm like okay, that didn't happen. Like
yeah.
like it's one of those moments, but like you don't get that all the time. Like you
There's
won't
no
ever get.
there was no winners in that case, bro. Like everyone lost,
No, no,
and
because
like
Johnny didn't want. He
Johnny will
just
never be the
wanted to
same.
prove a point.
Yeah, and I fully respect that. I think if I was in a situation, I would spend every fucking cent that I have
Mhm.
to clear my name. You know what I mean? If that was me. And, his career has been dented from it. I think he will make a comeback though, but he'll probably never work for Warner Brothers again. His bridges are probably burnt with Disney now. They probably can't touch him. You know what I mean? So it's like it's 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 rough. Like it's not a good place to be in. And even like Amber, she's probably never going to work again after this. You know what I mean? Like I can't imagine. I can't see her in like blockbuster movies anymore. You know what I mean? So she's like, even though she's wanted to win that battle, she's like lost her career as well. So
Right. And it's like I don't want to go too far into it, but I do have to say that when you lose that kind of situation, you should really ultimately say like maybe I was in the wrong, or maybe like maybe what I did was not shown in the correct light, or maybe I didn't have the right information. But if she really believed that all that stuff happened, like that could, it's still a possibility in her mind. But once I would say once the courts have decided and established a verdict, you're pretty much told like, no, this didn't happen.
yeah,
And so that's what I feel in terms of the justice system is that when you're given a verdict and you're acquitted or you're told that you didn't do this, the case is dismissed because there's insufficient evidence, or the court finds in favor of like either the plaintiff or the defendant. That's the ultimate like decision made by the people because they were unbiased. They were doing their best to be unbiased as possible
yeah,
in that courtroom. So I'm hoping that with this whole situation with Jonathan Majors, that it doesn't go to court. Maybe it just turns into a report, and that we can kind of understand like what ultimately happened, because you can get arrested for anything. Like not to sound rude, but like your old lady could just be like, "Hey, I'm gonna call the cops on you and say that you
oh my
hit me."
god, bro, yeah, like, and that's my life over, like, and that's the mad thing, like, people like, and it happens to people. It's happened to guys I know. They've gotten in serious trouble for doing nothing, just because they've been with a girl who's a bit fucking crazy and decides to fucking go to the police about you. Like, that's happened to people that I know. There's a
Yeah,
guy that I know who has 3 kids and can't see his kids anymore because your one made up all this bullshit about him, and the courts just believed her without any evidence at all, and he can't see his kids anymore. Like,
and it's
it's
sad.
shocking. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
So ultimately, I guess I could speak for both of us and say that I hope this was all just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I think though, and like what the saddest part is, and I think the same thing is happening with Justin Rollins as well. Like it's too late. The damage is done,
Yeah,
and to be honest, and I can kind of understand where he's coming from. If Adult Swim came to him and said, we want to take you back, um, part of him would probably be like, okay, I obviously want my job back. That's such a big show. It's one of the big shows in the world. But at the same time, for him to turn around and be like, "Fuck you! You didn't believe me." To be if in the first case, fuck your job. I don't want it. Like, I could see him taking either route. Realistically, I don't even know if he's going to be offered his job back. Like, I think when you're in that situation, it's once the even the like once the accusation is out there, that's it. It's over. And I think Disney, especially like Disney and Marvel, have a very kind of no holds barred policy on that sort of stuff. So, to be honest, even if Majors is innocent, I still think he's probably done. Which
is sad.
It's crazy, bro. Like
it's
like
really bad because he just did amazing work in Creed 3.
Yeah,
like that movie apparently got huge praise.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm dying to see it. And he looks jacked to fuck in that film. He looks great. Like, and whatever, say what you want about Ant-Man, but it was Kang was the best part of that movie. So Jonathan Majors held that movie up. He, obviously is going to be a big part of Loki. He's getting his own movie, Kang Dynasty, and then he's going to be the main villain as well in Secret Wars. So everything is all on the shoulders of Jonathan Majors. So, a recast now is really going to fucking hurt them. Really hurt them. And especially after phase 4, and especially after the rocky start of phase 5, we get the main villain. It's like them recasting Thanos in the middle of fucking the Infinity Saga. It's going to hurt. Like, it's going to really hurt, especially because, like, we're talking about multiverse and he's like kind of everywhere. We saw it in the after credit or the mid credit scene. We just saw the Council of Kangs. Like, what happens next in the next movie if it's a different person that's playing Kang? It's kind of weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's gonna hurt. Like, it's really gonna hurt the storyline. I really don't know where it's gonna go. Like, I don't see Disney holding on to him. Like, look what they did with like Gina Carano. Like, she just got fired, and she was a big part of Star Wars, and she was like a beloved character in that franchise. And they just let her go over some tweets or whatever the fuck. I don't even know I can't even remember what she did. I think she was saying some mad shit on Twitter. That's talking about, that was typing on a keyboard on Twitter.
Yeah.
This guy is allegedly put his hands on a woman. Like, that's so much worse. Like, like, he's got to be gone, right?
Yeah, like if it's true, then yeah. I mean, if it's not true,
even if it's not though,
they like hopefully though that they see it in a different way where it's like, okay, well, you like kind of give you a warning, but I know that Disney has a zero tolerance for that kind of stuff, which I totally understand.
Yeah,
I totally understand.
They're making children's films, like, what I mean. They have an image to keep up. Disney are for children at the end of the day, and you can't be having people who are beating women,
right?
Like, not at all. Can't happen.
No.
Can't happen. You know what I mean? Any bad press at all, and it's like, that's it, we're done. Like, you're gone. So, it's very unfortunate, and I don't see it ending well, no matter which way it goes. I think it's very bad for Majors. Now, he'll probably work again. There's going to be plenty of people that'll hire him for films, but
sure.
I don't know if he's going to be in the MCU anymore. I don't know if he's going to be in Disney films or anything related to Disney. It's very unfortunate, dude.
Right. But to kind of get out of this the sad point,
this funk that we're in.
Yeah.
This dark hole.
Is there anything that's on a positive that we can throw up?
Let me just I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. I don't know if we talked about it last week, but Daredevil Born Again is in production. There's a couple of like behind the scenes stuff happening. It's shooting right now in New York, which is fantastic. But it kind of still pisses me off that it's not coming out till like the end of 2024 or maybe 25, which sucks. It feels like it's so fucking far away. So that really hurts. But I'm trying to think, is there anything else going on? Obviously, we talk about the fact that John Bernthal has confirmed he's coming back as the Punisher. We did speak about that, did we?
Yes, we had that conversation already.
Yeah, incredible news. Yeah,
I'm really excited for that.
Oh, 100%. I saw a rumor like that. And again, it kind of ties back into what we already kind of know about the Deadpool movie, but Deadpool apparently is going to destroy the entire fucking Fox universe in his film. And I think that's what's going to involve the TVA. And that's how like Owen Wilson's going to come into the film and stuff like that, which I'm very excited about. Like, that sounds like it's going to be an absolutely incredible film.
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds really fun. Did you
yeah.
see that there was like a rumor that Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, Famke Janssen, and was it Ioan Gruffudd or Gruffudd who
Yeah,
played
he's
the
the
original Reed Richards?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
They're all
they're going to
playing.
be showing up.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and again, that's kind of just that kind of just solidifies it for me that this is the story that they're going with. Like, I heard like probably a couple of years ago at this stage, but I heard that like an original idea they had for the Deadpool 3 script was that Wade was going to think that he was the reason that the snap happened, and like
Mhm.
the dusting, and like half the universe imploding because he went back and saved Vanessa, or was it Vanessa? What's his girlfriend's name? Vanessa? I can't even remember now.
It sounds believable. I
Is it
think it's
Vanessa?
it could be.
Veronica, or it begins with V, I think. I can't think of her name right now. But yeah, like I loved that idea that like he thought that the snap was his fault, and then it's like his movies, him trying to fix what he didn't actually like solve, and then it's like him showing up at the end of Endgame and being like, "Oh shit, okay, this wasn't my fault." I think that'd be fucking brilliant.
Did you see the update on the premise though? Um,
Yeah, like so, like him and Wolverine are going to be like hopping around different universes, and they're going to like come across like loads of the different Fox characters and so on, and
yeah,
they're going to end up destroying that universe, and then that's going to lead into them coming to the 616 or whatever and being part of Battle World, or whichever way it's going to go. John
yeah, and you're
Bernthal is
right.
Punisher, hell yeah,
That's
facts.
gonna be so good. Like John Bernthal as a Punisher is a really good Punisher. It's about one of the
Yeah,
best Punishers that we've had. For TV wise, like I think movie wise, I think the second Punisher movie was actually really good, from what I remember.
bro. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I've actually seen any of the Punisher films. I've only watched Bernthal as Punisher. I don't think I've seen any of the other Punisher stuff.
Mm.
So I've only seen that version of Punisher, and then I've seen like him in animation in certain places, and then read him in comics, but I've never watched any of the movies.
Uh, yeah, same here. Like it's been a long time. Andre had messaged, are there leaks from Deadpool 3? I don't know if it's necessarily leaks. It could just be like introspective or things based on like the premise. It's not really going to be too much of a spoiler, just like who we know is going to be cast in the show as well. So
Yeah,
like at the very least, we just know the premise is that like Deadpool and Wolverine are going to be ending up in the multiverse and being pursued by Mobius. Um,
yeah. As far as I know, it's the final send off of the Fox universe, and the movie is going to end with them destroying the Fox universe. So whoever ends up surviving that will be like characters that come across. But I think it's the final send off for X-Men. So this version of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine that we're going to see is a more kind of vicious variant, apparently. So he's going to be a lot more violent, which I'm all for. So I presume there's going to be probably scenes where we're going to see when we first meet him, he's going to try and kill Wade. The two of them are going to try and kill each other, I would say, and then they'll become friends and they start hopping through time together. And
it's
then
apparent
go on.
it's apparently the Wolverine from 2029 from Logan.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. I heard the movie takes place before that, but I don't think it's actually him. So I heard that it was a different version of him. So they're not going to
Mhm.
actually touch the Logan movie. So they keep that kind of that timeline safe in its own thing. This is like apparently different. So, but we'll see what happens.
Right.
But yeah, like look, Charlie Cox coming back as Daredevil is obviously just another incredible thing to look forward to. Like Daredevil, even to today, is probably the best superhero TV that we've ever gotten, in my opinion.
Definitely
And
top tier.
yeah, and even today, like if I was to go downstairs right now and turn on episode 1 of Daredevil, I would easily watch 3 episodes and I'd be fucking like way late going to sleep, and I'd get like 3 hours sleep. I just know it's one of those shows where if I put on even one episode of it, I'm hooked and I have to watch the whole thing. Like,
Mm.
and there's a few shows for me personally that are like that, and funnily enough, this show is like the only kind of superhero show that does that for me. you know, there's a couple of like comedy shows that I watch, and if I turn one episode on, I have to just keep going. Like Entourage for me is one of them. Like if I turn on an episode of Entourage, I just have to keep going. I have to keep watching more and more and more and more. Yeah, it's a binge fest, and Daredevil's just like that. Like I only finished rewatching it before it left Netflix, and then when it went on to Disney, I rewatched it again. Like I love the show so much, and Charlie Cox is incredible as Matt Murdock. So I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see more, and just the fact that John Bernthal is going to return, and there's rumors of Spider-Man showing up and all. It's going to be fucking wild, bro. It's going to be wild. I can't
Right.
wait.
Did you see any of the stuff about Loki season 2?
I've what did I hear? I heard one or two bits. I heard a rumor that, and I don't know how true this is at all, but that apparently Hugh Jackman could be making an appearance in that series. But
That seems a bit
I love
far,
the
right?
yeah, I love the idea, but I think it kind of would ruin the first reappearance of him showing back up in Deadpool.
Mhm.
If he like previously showed up in a TV show. I think it would be kind of like, it kind of takes away from the magic of him showing up on the big screen for the first time, you know? So I don't think it's very true. But I think, it makes sense when you think about it as well, though, because we've got like Owen Wilson's character is going to be in the movie. We know this. So it kind of would make sense if we see a version of, in like season 2 of the show, if we see a variant of Logan getting pushed through one of those orange doors, it would make sense.
Mhm.
But I think it kind of takes away from the magic of the movie.
Right. I agree with that. I also saw that apparently they're going to introduce 3 new variants of Sylvie, which I mean, I'm not sure how much that's going to imply, considering that Sylvie is just a variant of Loki. So technically, it's
3 more
just 3 new
Lokis.
variants. Yeah, 3 new variants of
3
Loki.
female Lokis.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, dude, look, I'll be very honest, I don't really care about her character too much. I kind of thought it was like weird, and even when I went back and rewatched all of Loki, I really enjoyed it on a rewatch, but I just didn't really care about her.
Mhm.
I thought it was a really weird dynamic that Loki was falling in love with a female version of himself. Like it was kind of fucked up. Like,
I mean, it basically shows the idea that Loki loves himself
yeah,
a lot.
I
Like
know,
he really
but
loves
like
himself.
they went a bit too far with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like no, like for the people that are paying attention, I'm sure they'd be like, "What the hell, you're kissing yourself, dude?"
Yeah.
But I mean, it's that age-old question: what would you do to yourself?
Jesus. Did you see the pictures of Lady Gaga from Joker 2?
Yeah, the makeup's not as enticing as I wanted it to be. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit stronger.
Yeah, she just looks like Lady Gaga.
Yeah, she really does.
She just looks like herself. Like I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. But I
Yeah,
kind
because
of
Harley Quinn wears makeup.
yeah. But I kind of feel like this, like the Harley that we know from like comics and from like animation, and obviously Margot Robbie's version of her is very like dramatized, whereas this kind of Joker world is a much kind of more realistic take on these characters. Like, the Joker in that film, it's one of the most like kind of like it's one of the hardest films, like just like psychologically to watch, because it's just so real. Like you're seeing very deep into like depression, and the society is like an isolating society and stuff, and it's a very dark fucking film. It's very heavy. It's very hard to watch, and I feel like this second movie now is just going to be a very realistic telling of the character of Harley Quinn. Like I don't think it's going to be like she's not going to be going around with a big mallet and all this sort of stuff. Like she's not going to have hyenas or any of that shit. Like it's going to be just a doctor who gets fucked up in the head, like, and just kind of snaps herself and follows Joker around. Like it's going to be a very kind of real story, if that makes sense.
Well, that makes sense because like you wouldn't expect her to automatically have weaponry and companions from the get-go. She has to kind of develop that once she's created her persona.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, correct me if I'm wrong, is Joker 2 supposed to be identified as a musical?
I think that was the original kind of rumor. I hope it's false. I don't want the thing to
I
be
hope it's true. Like I want that shit. Like that shit
No,
sounds
I
funny. That
wouldn't
sounds
mind.
great.
I wouldn't mind if there was like a 5-minute sequence where they're both in the loony bin together and they're like think that they're on stage at a musical. That'd be fine.
You mean like in Suicide Squad 2 when freaking Harley Quinn is going through like a field of flowers?
Something like that, yeah. Like, because again, she's insane. Like, so I think if we took a quick trip inside her head, and she thinks that she's in a musical, that's fair enough. But I don't want the whole movie to be a fucking musical. I think that'd be really
Well,
weird.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but Harley Quinn's insanity is based on the fact that she's obsessed with Joker, right?
Yeah, and then I think so in the comics anyway, she becomes obsessed with him, and she falls in love with him while she's treating him as a patient, and
Right.
then he throws her into the acid as well. Like, she takes him to where he was created when they break out, and she gets thrown into the acid and kind of goes mad and becomes a Joker herself, and that's how she kind
That's
of fully
cool.
snaps, and then that's how she gets her kind of, because they in the comics, like, they kind of insinuate that she's like kind of not superhero-ish, but she has like better, like more strength than a regular person. So I don't know if it's
Right.
like the acids kind of made her kind of a super soldier in a way, but not like actually like superhuman, like,
It's more. It's I would say it's more like Catwoman esque,
Yeah,
where
exactly. Like, they're not like, they don't have powers, but they're just
she
advanced
it
kind of, or
it's
whatever.
like yeah, like Black Widow. It's like like they're just that fucking acrobatic and destructive that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Jesus, like, I don't know if you've anything else that you want to bring up, or if the chat have any questions they want to ask. Let's do it. But just, we're over an hour and a half already. Like, this cast has flown in,
Yeah.
and it's flown in. And like, I thought we were gonna have a short one today because we only had like Mando to talk about, really, and I I I, I didn't know if you had seen Shazam or not, because I didn't know if we were gonna have a full breakdown of the second movie or not. So,
Right.
the fact that we got to an hour and 35 minutes is quite impressive. um, yeah. So look, if there's anyone has anything to say, or there any topics they want to bring up at the chat, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll break up for the week, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
I don't see any questions coming in. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're new to the
Oh,
channel, is there a question? What is it?
BB episode.
BB episode was fire. Which episode was that? Oh,
My
Bad
goodness.
Batch. Sorry, he's talking about Bad Batch.
Oh.
I'm not watching Bad Batch. But I have heard, and again, I'll watch the Star Wars theory breakdowns of Bad Batch, and like, I've heard Den of Nerds, because the guys Andre and Chillin are all from the Den of Nerds community. So like, I've heard Josh talking about like how good the last couple of episodes have been, but there's been some like bullshit in the middle, which is classic animated Star Wars in my opinion. There's
Mhm.
fire shit. Like, it's never just like 10 episodes of like incredible stuff. It's usually like a couple of good episodes and then terrible shit. Like, and again, I watched the first like maybe 7 or 8 episodes of the first season of Bad Batch, and I just lost interest. Like, every episode just became about them going out on a mission and like being pirates or whatever, and like going out doing like collecting something for like, it felt like you were playing a game watching it. You know what I mean? It just wasn't great at all. So I don't watch the show, but I've heard there's been a couple of episodes in the last few weeks. I think episodes 12 and 14 were like mind-blowingly good, and I'd say they are, but I have no interest in going and watching them. That's maybe when it's all said and done, I'll do even Disney, I think, did a list up for the Clone Wars. I don't know if it's still there, but it's like the essential episodes of Clone Wars, and you can go and watch like what are the best and most important episodes in just one collection. So I'll probably wait for the show to end, and I'll probably do that, just and
That
be
sounds
able to skip all the shit, like, because there's a lot of it
yeah,
in
that
Bad
sounds like
Batch.
a good deal, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Nervengeance for life. All right, guys.
Yeah.
If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit a like on the video. If you're watching this on a replay, thank you for watching. And if you hear this message, thank you for hanging around for the whole thing. Let us know in the comments below what you think. And we'll see you next week. Mando episode 5. Let's go. Bye
Yeah.
bye, guys.